Good afternoon. To welcome you to the Wright County Health and Human Services Board meeting of September 28th, 2020. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That one, pretty good harmony today. Basement. Must be a good week. Okay, first item on the agenda is the minutes from September 14th. Drafting for you. Any questions, concerns, corrections?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the September 14th meeting.
And I will second that.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Hewsome. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next is review and approval of the agenda. You understand there's a couple of questions or revisions to this?
Mr. Chair, yes, I was talking with the director, Jamie Goodman Shorts, and we'd like to maybe flip 1 and 2 just around. She may have to leave early, and if Ria's presentation goes a long time, then we'd have that out of the way. So
That's on the regular agenda?
it would be on the regular agenda.
Okay.
Correct.
So flip 1 and 2?
1 and 2.
Also, Commissioner, under the consent agenda, I'd like to pull item 4A, the statement of work around AvTex, and bring it back to the board when it's in a better prepared. We're still undergoing the legal review for this.
Okay.
However, I would like to add that we do plan on spending more than half of the contract amount from CARES funds, so we would like to get it back in the board timely, so either tomorrow or the following Tuesday at a regular board meeting.
And for the rest of the board, I kind of intimated that it'd be best if it came, instead of tomorrow, the next week, we could do it right away, because then everybody's got a chance to look at it, doesn't get rushed, make sure we do it right. And I know it's going to be a little bit of a heartache.
It's a rush on the other side then because of the CARES funding, but we'll work it out.
We'll figure it out.
We'll work it out.
Because I just, one of those things, I always get nervous when things get rushed through and things get missed, and then we got to go back. The old saying, it's easier to stay out than get out. I don't like to do things like that, but
And then, Mr. Chair, one other thing too, the time for Ria's presentation will be much longer than that, so.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion, and then my motion's going to be that I make a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of item number 1 and table it for a future meeting, as I don't think it's good for us to review this item when a member of the board here is a membered witness in a child protection case. I think it's a little bit of, it could be viewed as a potential conflict of interest to be discussing child welfare protection when a board member is involved as a witness in a case. I'd rather wait for that case to have been ruled on and then have this presentation. I just don't like to do it when I would have said something earlier, but I just found out the involvement very recently.
Do you
so.
have an involvement, or?
No, I do not.
Oh,
so that's a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of consent item A. We'll switch the 2 around, and then you want also to remove the item A under the regular agenda, the child welfare presentation.
Yeah, I just at a later date, there's an involvement at a level that, by a board member, that I just don't think we should be discussing it at this time. I'd rather wait for the court to close the case with a ruling and then have that discussion.
is the board member here, or?
Yes, the board member's here. Yeah.
Okay,
I guess, does it involve?
Their names and the individuals, the board member's name is in the either their name is in the case. They're named in the case, not as they're named as a witness to details of the case. They're not a perpetrator of the case. They're just a named witness or involved in the case at a level.
And Derek, I guess I wish you would have mentioned that, because I mean, Attorney Borman Spears came out from Minneapolis to do this presentation.
Well, and if I had known that the case was not going to be closed at this time, and that, I mean, I don't want to name names of who the member is up here, but that this person's name was actually involved in the case and it wasn't closed this time, I would have said we shouldn't be doing this, just because, I mean, it has a quandary of a lot of different issues. It has the potential for implications on the case itself. It has implications on the county in terms of potential litigation risk. There's multiple reasons why we shouldn't be discussing it until that case is closed.
okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I
No, there's a motion
Well,
on the floor.
I'm not gonna second that because I think it's,
Well,
I don't think
The
it's.
second time, is there a second?
I'll second it with a question, I guess.
Commissioner Hersum?
I mean, this is not supposed to be about any cases, correct?
Right, exactly.
So,
It's not anything case-specific at all.
Mr. Chair, case specific or not, the timing in connecting the two, that you're discussing a child protection or potential issues within or concerns you have within child protection while you are involved in, as a, I don't know, a named witness in a child protection case at the current time that's pending, it's kind of, the timing isn't right, you know? If you waited to, if it was before that case happened or after the case is closed, I would say it would be a fair time to discuss it.
And maybe,
The question is, Commissioner Hersum?
that was my.
well, I guess, if I might, Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ms.
I
Commissioner
said
Brown.
this isn't anything case-specific, and we're just looking at ways to improve child protection, and that's what the presentation is. Maybe, could we,
At this time, I'd like to have Attorney Kreiser come up and give us a opinion on what's transpiring here to make sure that questions are answered on either side of this equation, or what's going on and what can and can't be.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I can confirm with Derek that there is currently a case pending with a board member who is listed as a witness on that case. It is currently under advisement with the court. What the board wants to do with that is really up to your discretion. Best practice would be to table this, though, I believe, given the comments that Commissioner Vetch has made.
So the advice from attorney is to table this.
At least a month. Let's wait for, at least for that order to come out.
Okay.
and then, do you, Attorney Kreiser, do you know what the presentation is? I mean, it's just kind of generic.
I did see it, and I'm aware of what it is, yes.
You would still say
I
that.
would still recommend that.
Okay. Any other questions before the board?
You know, we set this meeting up, we had the second meeting of the month. We did it for this particular reason. You know, we brought people in for it, and
And
so any idea, let's just say this motion passes, which I'm still not gonna be in favor of it, because I don't think, like Attorney Kreiser said, it's up to us as far as whether we want to or not. It's not doing anything case specific, so I'm gonna vote against the motion anyway, but let's say it does get tabled. Do you have any idea when we would be able to do the presentation, when that case would be over? Or?
Commissioner,
30 days for a ruling, so 30 days from today, you could hear on it. So the judge has to have a ruling on this case within 30 days, once the testimonies are done, so.
and they're not, and I don't know when the judge
It
actually.
was done, it's under advisement at this time, so we
Tonight,
can
so
go
it's
30
already,
days.
the clock's already running.
Yep.
So it's.
So if we
maximum
did the
30 days
second
from today.
meeting, well, I'll just see where the motion goes.
And just with the rest of the board, since it is under consideration with the judge, I'm gonna, you know, as much as I want Commissioner Burrell to get his questions answered, I'm gonna take the legal advice and just make it so we're gonna wait for the judge to have their ruling, and I'd still like to have the conversation, but just wait for the judge ruling. I don't want to interfere with that aspect here. Any other questions?
So the case has already been heard and done, it's just the judge is waiting for a ruling then, or?
Correct, that's what I understand. The judge has 30 days to make a ruling on the case, one way or another, and I'm not, that's the part that gets a little sketchy, where do we really want to interfere with this with the judge? Or, I still want the questions answered, I still want the concerns heard.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we're doing it in a certain order to make sure that we don't expose the county at any stretch here. Any other questions?
So the case was already been heard, whoever it was never was called as a witness, they're just on the witness list. I just think it's just, we're really getting into the woods here on that.
Like I said, I'm not pertinent to all the case details, but from my understanding is that the individual is made, I don't know if it's written statements or they're named as having contributed information to the
Do you think
case.
the judge might watch this meeting and be influenced or something, or?
It's more the fact that it creates improprieties. And it's just, once again, the timing is everything from it. So if a commissioner is all of a sudden taking a very pointed interest into child protection, and just so happens that there's a child protection case that their name is in the file on a couple different occasions, makes you kind of go, should we be discussing? If the case was closed, I would say then it would be a good time to discuss it.
Okay, we've had a lot of discussion on this one, and it's not going to be resolved at that point in time. Any other questions? If not, I would really like to go ahead with the vote. All those in favor of approving the removal of the agenda with item A on the consent of being pulled and item 1A of the regular agenda being tabled for further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 3-1.
And Mr. Chair, I apologize for those attorneys and those people that came out here today. If I had known more of this information earlier too, I would have tried to have not had this meeting take place for 30 days from now, but that information didn't come before me till a much later date. So my dearest apologies for that.
Okay, moving on, consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'll move the consent agenda with item A being removed.
Okay, motion is
second
made by
that.
Commissioner Burrell, seconded by Commissioner Hewsome. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On to the regular agenda. Approval or referral to Personnel Committee request to accept BCBS funding for Regional Dental Coordinator.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We just recently, actually, I think a week ago Fridays, meeting with the 7W directors, heard from Blue Cross Blue Shield that they have and they would like to provide $100,000 a year for 3 years for a dental coordinator position for the 4-county area. Talking with the other directors, it was agreed that I would go forward to their board to request this position. I explained that our budget is in and this is outside of budget. It would be a 3-year position at $100,000, looking at the duties, and I think you should have the initiative overview document in your packet. It seems to me that we would already have a position called a health promotion coordinator, that either that or a case aide that could do this for, and you should also have, I've got, so that I would recommend having this go forward as a health promotion coordinator position if the board would approve it. With our dental clinic, hopefully to be getting some feet under it fairly soon. I think it would really put us in a good position to have this person network with the other, with the providers. They also are not just strictly with Blue Cross Blue Shield, they will talk with other providers and things like that. Again, this is to expand partnerships with Children's Dental. As a healthcare is local, we were looking to fund a dental position at the regional level to assist in population-based dental innovations and developments. Innovate, plan, and manage dental expansion solutions, and they're looking for a host county. Looking at under our current salary structure, we would be come in under, even with the 10% administrative cost that the county would take, that we would receive for this, we would still be able to provide this 100% under at the $100,000. Along, I believe if we went with the health promotion coordinator, we may also be able to buy the equipment and things like that. So I'm just looking for the board, if you would either, my request would be to approve this outright. My other request would be if you were not to approve this outright, then to send it to a personnel committee for further discussion. Blue Cross Blue Shield is kind of telling us we're kind of under the gun. I think they must be in a different year than us, and their funding will disappear sometime in early to mid-October, and will not come out again until next year. And with some of the pain they're saying that some of the managed healthcare providers have, we're not sure if it's going to come up again. Potentially, they could have the money and come out. They have 7 of these positions right now. They could come back and say that Wright County could apply to have this down the road. We're just not sure if that would actually be available to us at that point. So it is kind of one of those, act quick if you want to get the $100,000 for the 3 years, or we can do a wait and see and see if they come back with the money or not.
$100,000 for 3. Mr. Chair, okay. So $100,000 for 3 years
3 or 4 years?
$300,000
$300,000, okay, okay, I thought it was $100,000 for. I was thinking-
For year
I was thinking,
one, year
the math
two,
on that
and year
doesn't work
three.
out. I said, we're gonna be ponying up a lot of money.
recurring,
Okay.
I'm sorry, recurring $100,000 for 3
Okay,
years.
that makes a big, I was trying to figure out, so we're on the
Absolutely.
hook for a lot of money otherwise, so.
And this person would also then be working within the constraints of all 4 counties. We'd be the host county, and they would being a Wright County employee, but they would be working to advance the dental interest of the other 3 counties as well.
So, Jamie, your preference is just to approve it, not to send it to personnel?
Well, just so then we don't, if the board is in agreement, then we could tell them faster. You know, my concern would be if it went to a personnel committee, we may miss, it might be a smoking gun at that point.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Vetch.
My biggest concern on this is because we already have a number of these staff tied to grants. And I know if all of a sudden the state takes a pendulum switch the other way, it's going to take me a decade to get these positions out through attrition. I mean,
I would disagree.
you disagree?
And I think with just last board meeting, we came with our existing conditions going, or, grant paid positions, new positions going back 10 years. They all are still currently paid for, and I mean, all I can do is tell you as the director that we would immediately take action, and I don't think it would be a long time for us to see attrition. I mean, we would have to figure it out, but we would,
And you're saying that the decision to do this has to be done by mid-October, otherwise you got to wait a whole.
that's what I was informed from Blue Cross Blue Shield.
My next question would be for Administrator Kelly. You see any questions, conflicts, problems? in
No,
this?
Jamie and I had the opportunity to discuss prior to the meeting. It's really to the board, if you're comfortable with what's being presented. Otherwise, we'd refer to the 14th of October, the next committee date. Does put it out a little ways. Certainly, we've had positions somewhat similar to this in funding concept in the past. So from my standpoint, don't see any concerns unless you'd like further discussion. So.
My concern is if we don't know what is the cutoff date, that kind of makes
Yeah,
it.
I would say, I mean, I think the money would go away absolutely by the end of October. The other thing I should have mentioned is this person could potentially take on some of the activities that we currently have staff doing, some of the setting for, like working with children's dental, setting appointments that we have Case 8 staff doing. So it would alleviate our staff from doing some of those things, so they could be doing other things that would, in the public health arena.
Board,
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Houston.
Yeah, Wrong board.
Oh, and I should say, they approached us. We didn't approach them. They came to us with this offer.
So essentially, this person will be shared by 4 counties, but we're going to be the host county, so they're considered a Wright County employee, or they're considered a
Right.
contract?
The requirement of this funding is that they become a county employee.
Okay.
So they'd be a county employee, you know, and then again, with our dental clinic, we are looking at having that being a broader than county, you know,
Right, it's regional.
base. So to me, it seemed very fitting, and I mean, I felt that we would be the natural place for this. I'd have to say, I feel a little guilty. I think there's lots of other things where other counties have stepped up and done the host county, and we've kind of taken the, you know, step back from that a little bit because we've had a lot of things going on with the ERP and things like that. But this one, to me, it seems like a slam dunk, but I'm not a commissioner, and I would just love to hear today that we could go ahead with it. But if not that, then we'd certainly like to talk more about it at a personnel committee.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, I don't think that. I mean, we're all here essentially. Commissioner Delighten isn't here, but the rest of us to hear what this is. So I don't think that we need to vet it out in the personnel committee after we vet it out here and probably come back with a recommendation. So I would move approve of moving forward with this. I guess we're going to get more information about it going forward, but.
Yep, I would go back to Blue Cross Blue Shield. I mean, it seems like it's a kind of a wide open, we can be providing some direction and things like that. I mean, this is really the extent of what we've received, but it is to forward local dental, you know, expanding local dental networks for people that are in the managed care programs like MA people.
Mr. Chair, I will second that, and with a comment. I mean,
I'll formally do my thing first.
okay.
Okay, motion was made by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner Vetch to approve the request to accept the BCBS funding for the regional dental coordinator. Now, Commissioner Vetch, you can speak.
So I mean, I guess with or without the dental center there, it still makes a lot of sense, because right now they're gonna be going out and looking for needles in a haystack, 'cause, I mean, that's really about what the accessibility is right now for dental care for those in need right now anyways. So with that being said, I guess it can maybe only help us more in solidifying our case to the legislator in terms of the need for
Good point.
accessibility to dental care for those financially challenged as well as youth, so.
Yeah, I would hope that, hopefully if the legislation could still go through this fall, but if not, this person could get their feet under them and provide us with more, with some, like you said, solidification of what the
Commissioner
details
Burrell,
are.
you have comment?
Yeah, I'm just like, this is almost like building one of our buildings. It's just like, oh, this comes in, now we need this, now we need that. It's like, nobody tells us everything. It's like, in advance. We're doing the entire region a huge favor by allowing the building site for this facility, and now we have to staff it too. It's
Well, yeah, and I understand what you're saying, Commissioner. I mean, we weren't looking for this at all. It's an opportunity that presented itself, and it seemed kind of like a godsend, because you can bet we're going to be spending HHS public health hours doing things toward the dental clinic, and I think there's going to be a
and it's
nice
gonna
chunk
be-
of stuff that we could hand off to this position, and Blue Cross can pay them instead of
And it's
us.
going to be 100% funded by the grant.
100%
So
funded.
can we hire this person contingent on the grant being continued on?
Yeah, right.
Because if the grant, then just let the person know when they take the job, it's contingent on the grant. If the grant goes away, your position will go away.
So, Mr. Chair, can I get clarification? So Commissioner Burrell, you actually need to have it as a contracted position, then basically a 3-year contracted public health or.
And I'm not sure if that's allowed under the $100,000. What I can tell you is that,
I almost call it contingent, not contract, because it wouldn't be
Yeah.
an independent contractor.
so let's say this
You work
person's,
under a 3-year contract. I mean, a lot of state positions, you work under a 12-month contract or an
so I-
18-month or whatever.
the way I think the union would work, and I, probably would need to defer to Lee or Sean, if we hired this person and it was contingent on this grant, so in 3 years' time, and they didn't continue on with with Blue Cross didn't continue it, then my understanding union-wise is that the last hired public health promotion coordinator would lose their job versus this position, because I think if it's a county employee, it's a county employee.
Okay, now Commissioner Burrell said.
And then we move everything around again.
So if the motion maker agreed to that caveat in there or not, it's kind of up to you.
And then, Chris, I guess my last comment is, it seems like maybe that's something, if we sent it to personnel, they would have a little more time to iron that out and make sure. Right now, we're shooting from the hip, and
Well, and I mean, what I could state undeniably without HR here is that we would, through the next public health promotion coordinator, and we have about 7 of them, through attrition, we would end the next, we wouldn't hire for the next one.
no, I got that. But
That's what I would like to do, because I think, and it is this is not a high turnover time with the pandemic going on, but in normal times,
It's just, I just want to be fair to the people that we hire. So now we hire a public health director or whatever, a public health, not director, like a
health coordinator. yeah.
coordinator, and it's nearing the end of this 3-year term, and let's say it's 8 months, and it's going to be the end of this thing. That person should be hired, like, if we don't get this grant, you're going to be working for us for 8 months.
Well, and honestly, in all honesty, in my head, if I'm still your Health and Human Services Director, I would probably not want to hurry up and hire that position until, if we had a vacant, that's what we did in the past. We had the same thing going on with our financial workers at the time. And so we just didn't hire in a position because we didn't want to get them stuck in that same situation.
But I guess, 8 months, but even if it was a year and a half, that person should probably say that it's.
I would try to get something from Blue Cross Blue Shield to see what their intentions were.
All right.
And Mr. Chair, it is for 4 counties too, so that's the other thing. So if this just disappears and how this person is,
Oh.
for
No,
the other
I'll be
counties.
gone, but I can totally see that. The grant went away, but, we only have 1/4 of the contract, so it's only gonna cost us, $30,000 a year. And then, that's not bad, so.
We're going to have a dental clinic that's going to be up and running and managing itself by that time, so we won't even need this position at that point.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Vetch.
you're not adding that to the motion. then?
No.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we're clear.
But the motion maker has to agree to that amendment.
Yeah, and that's where I was making sure that he didn't want to push that issue of wanting it to be contracted, and he is not, so. Yep.
I'm not. I'm gonna vote for it, Mike. It's just, I'm just expressing concerns, and
Absolutely.
I wouldn't mind it if it went to personnel that maybe, Mark might have another idea, I don't know, but I'm okay with it. It's
Commissioner
not-
Burrell, I understand your concern because sometimes that's what happens. They throw these things at the last minute and all of a sudden we're supposed to react to it. In this particular issue here with that dental clinic and when it comes to the children's dental health, this is very important for those of limited means to make sure their kids have good oral hygiene because there's studies out there, I can't remember where I read it. They don't have good oral hygiene, they're not doing good in school. They become a burden on society. That's not good.
Medical issues can
That costs us a
develop.
lot more money than this is gonna cost us. And I look at it from that perspective, because I know a few adult friends of mine that didn't have good oral hygiene, and they've been struggling their whole life with issues going on, and not just the oral and the appearance,
Yeah.
it's other medical issues that come because of it.
Absolutely.
Because of it. And so, is there any other comments? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carried. Thank you. And seeing that there's nothing else on the agenda, we stand adjourned at 1:55.
Thank you, Bird.